I get it. The standard that we've set for this season so far, but like towards the beginning or within a couple of minutes, I don't really remember the time on the clock. I remember looking at the big screen and I was looking at the stat line, and Northwestern had 101 yards rushing at one point. And I was like, damn, that's the second time this season. I was hoping that we'd only allow Michigan to be the only team to get over 100 yards so far this season.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, 101, yeah, whatever. They ended with like 83.
81.
Yeah.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day. Day by day. He gets better and better. He gets better and better. He's gaping me. Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
Cheers, motherfucker.
Go Big Red.
Back-to-back dubs.
Back to back. That's what we call a winning streak.
It is. When the fuck was the last time we were able to talk about a winning streak?
Probably, I don't know, did we win 2 in a row last year?
Shit, I can't remember.
We won Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech.
Okay,
Jesus.
fine. Yeah. I suppose. Wait a second. We have 2 winning streaks this year?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know. Is that allowed? Wait, do people actually do that?
Dude, I don't even know. I don't even know what to do with my hands. I don't know who I am.
Oh, I know what to do with my hands. I'm excited.
I was home alone right after the game got over. I don't know what to say.
Oh, yeah. I texted you when Malachi Coleman had that touchdown.
You know I was excited.
It was a shame Tabitha wasn't here.
It was well, she's probably okay with it. It was a shame that's the only ball he caught.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of wild that I think we had 85 total yards through the air, and 44 of them were on that one play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I've not been a proponent of the Heinrich Haarberg experiment so far.
No.
And today did not help that.
Yeah, it's a tough sled with him. I mean, somebody made the comment. I was listening to the Big Red Overreaction show on 1620 on my way home from the game, and somebody made the comment about just the chemistry. The offense that Satterfield wants to run does not fit Heinrich Haarberg. Whether it's the offense Satterfield wants to run ultimately, or the offense that he wants to run with the guys that he has available to him right now. There is just whatever it is about his offense, it does not mix with Heinrich Haarberg.
No.
And whether that means, and maybe that's an excuse for Heinrich Haarberg for how bad he's playing, or what, I don't know, but there's just something that doesn't connect there for whatever reason, probably for 1,000 different reasons.
Dude, it's kind of like what we just talked about when we were watching the press conference stuff. He kind of always just looks like he just got out of bed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just, that is, you look at a lot of and I'm not trying to knock on anybody, but you look at a lot of people in that generation, and that's just kind of the way they float through life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, everything's going to be okay, and if it's not, I'll do something else. It's not a big deal. And that's kind of the vibe I get from him. It's like, I was never really given a shot, and I've got it, and this is cool, but, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's not a big deal. No skin off my back.
Yeah. I don't want to... I mean, I know what you're saying, so I'm not
saying that's how he is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
saying.
going to say.
That's the vibe that I get from
I just
him.
wanted to say this out loud again.
Yes.
I know that you're not trying to say he doesn't care.
No, I'm not.
I just wanted to get that out there.
Yes.
Because
it's just the vibe that I get off of him, like, just in general, is like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and if I have to go back to riding the pine, I will.
He has a very nonchalant demeanor, not attitude, demeanor, and it comes across that way. Again, he's probably an unbelievable... You can tell he's a
massive Husker fan, and
I'm sure he's an absolute competitor. Again, this is not trying to criticize him as a competitor, as an athlete, all of that stuff. It's just when you watch these things, it's human nature for us as fans to kind of nitpick, I guess. Maybe that's not necessarily the phrase that I want to say, but just generalize their what we see. And what we see from him is just like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it would be it's tough for me to watch him come into the press conference after that game where the first ball he threw was a pick, the third or fourth ball that he threw was a pick. He put the ball on the ground twice. And then that
he fumbled a snap. Should everybody be yelling and screaming to sit in?
Yeah, and it was as simple as he looked up before the ball got to his hands. It's one of those you know that's one of the first things you learn as a wide receiver is don't look upfield before you catch that ball.
Yep.
And it's the same type of deal with catching that snap in the shotgun. It should be second nature, and the fact that it's not is concerning.
Yep.
It's the same thing that Sims got torched for.
Yep.
I was surprised because the majority of the turnover stuff and the slippery, buttery hands that seemed like just you texted about it during the game was contagious. Everybody was doing it. It looked like a joke at one point. When that Billy Kemp ball came out, it literally looked like he was, had the ball greased up and somebody popped it out of his hands. It was wild.
It's one of the reasons why when people are yelling and screaming about Anthony Grant being a fumbling machine or Jeff Sims being a turnover machine, again, none of that stuff. I disagree a little bit with the aggressiveness of the Anthony Grant criticism. I can't disagree with the Sims thing because the stats are the stats.
Stats are the stats, but we also haven't seen anything more from him.
Correct, but that's why I said in the text, this team is contagious of the turnovers. And when people say, "Oh, Anthony Grant's a turnover machine," everybody's fumbling the ball.
Yeah,
this isn't just an Anthony Grant problem.
Although I will say this. Anthony Grant came out and he ran like mad on the first couple ones.
Yeah.
But did you see what he was doing? He was the first run. He got a first down. He was right back to carrying the ball up here, single arm, waving it around, running through traffic. Yep. It's like, dude, that's why you keep getting the ball ripped out.
Yeah.
You make it easy. You make yourself a target for this. And it's clear by the fact that he didn't get in the game right away, that he didn't start, that he wasn't doing any better in this on this 2 weeks off.
You asked the question in the preview show. Asked to me and Matt.
I said, does he start, and do you think he plays much?
And we were just like, well, yeah, why not? For me, I'm not going to speak for Matt. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight. But
unfortunate, he's in fucking Vegas having fun.
Well, I didn't know. I thought it was work. I didn't know he was having fun.
No, it's a cousin's trip, man.
Oh, fuck that guy.
If we didn't have a newborn, I'd be in Vegas too.
Oh my!
We'd be doing this remote from Vegas.
I seriously thought he was I didn't know where he was going.
No, him and Danny and Nikki, they're all out there having fun, man.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Yeah. He was at a Husker bar in Vegas all day today.
Okay. But the reason I was like, oh, well, yeah, Grant will start. He'll play. Is because number one, depth. But also, I just didn't know if Emmett Johnson, Quentin Ives, any of the backups were ready yet. Well, clearly, what Emmett Johnson did today, he's ready.
He doesn't have the appearance, because he looks small in the field, doesn't have the appearance of an every down back, but the dude ran like one today.
Yep.
He ran like one, and they fed him.
Yeah.
He got 12 carries. He ran for 73 yards, averaged 6.1.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that he brought it up in the press conference after the game. He can run between the tackles.
Yeah.
They made jokes about it on air during the game. Oh, he can actually run inside. It's like, I realize scouting report wise, he's super small and fast, so he's always gone outside. But the dude made moves inside, and I've got to give massive props. This was the best overall offensive line play that I've seen in any game so far this year.
Well, I mean, low bar, but...
Low bar, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I saw progress today. I saw protection, and their defense, we referenced it several times during the game, they were hitting hard as fuck. Mm-hmm. They were out there flying around. We talked about it in the preview. They're playing as a team with nothing to lose. They're playing with house money, and apparently that counts on the injury side of things too.
This is not a knock on Ethan Piper. I hope that the injury is not as serious as we all kind of think it is. But Justin Evans Jenkins is a player. And he came in for Piper. And then when Ben Scott came down, he switched back over to the center position. Ben Scott was able to come back towards the end of the game, which is really good.
A relief.
But Justin Evans Jenkins is a player. And
is he a true freshman or redshirt?
He's a redshirt freshman.
Redshirt, okay.
Yeah. If Piper is done for a long time, probably the season, having Justin Evans Jenkins play is going to be a very good thing. It's
because
not going to be a step
we don't
back.
need Lutovsky over there.
No, but I'm just saying he's a player. He's really good.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to that one scrimmage in the spring, Ben Scott wasn't really playing much because I think he had just a little nagging injury. And Justin Evans Jenkins was out there and he was taking the snaps. And I thought he played really well too. I was like, damn, I mean, maybe because Ben Scott, when he was at Arizona State, he played tackle a little bit. Maybe we move Scott out and
Ben Scott would be a small tackle.
well, but I'm just saying he played it, so that's all I'm saying.
It's also Arizona State.
Yeah. But I'm very, the offensive line doesn't really have a whole lot of depth for various different reasons. Being able to slide Justin Evans Jenkins in there, I'm good with, going forward.
That's good to know. I didn't know much about him when he came in. I know that when Piper first went out, Lutovsky was the first one to slide over there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
He hasn't played well in that spot
No,
all year long.
I'm curious. So we before we started recording, we were watching the post-game press conference, and Rule brought up the Billy Kemp. I mean, Haarberg talked about the game plan that they had for Billy Kemp. Rule said it multiple times. You wouldn't believe how much we had planned for Billy Kemp. That was one of the reasons why I had the question: how many touches will Billy Kemp have? And they've constantly talked about it, whether the broadcasters or Rule himself, about how they want to get Billy Kemp the ball.
That was the weird part about the broadcasters today. They made mention that Satterfield had told them in their pregame notes that he wanted to get Billy at least 10 touches during the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had the number.
Yeah.
Like,
They've said that
10
last couple
touches
of games.
is not molding the whole offensive game plan around Billy Kemp.
Well, but maybe it was
You said
like
10 to 15 is kind of what they've been talking about.
Well, that's what they said in the Illinois game.
Yeah.
Whatever. But and so Rule said multiple times, like when Kemp went down, that changed everything, and we really had to kind of scatter and figure out all this stuff. I understand that that's part of the process and everything, but man, if you're at a place like Nebraska, big boy football, should it really be that difficult to pivot? I understand also some of it has to do with the talent that we have available to us.
That's where I was going to go with
for
this.
various different reasons, whether it's lack of talent or injured talent.
Yeah.
I just, when Rule kept saying it just kind of hit me a little wrong.
I think he's making excuses for Satterfield.
I mean,
honestly what I thought.
I'm not completely criticizing. It didn't sit well with me.
No. I think he's making excuses for Satterfield. Because you know what put them off schedule? You know what changed the game plan for them? The first play of the game being a fucking pick.
Yeah.
And the fourth play on offense being a fucking pick.
And 4 fumbles. Even though we didn't lose any of them. 4 fumbles.
Those things.
Yeah.
Those things caused this. And I'm sorry, but the game plan didn't change so much from Billy Kemp going out at the beginning of the second quarter to make you then in the third quarter on 2 separate drives go 3 and out because you came in and threw the ball 3 times.
Well, and also, did this offense really look drastically worse than what we've seen all season?
No. Well, I said this when we were watching the press conference. I think this is the absolute lowest of the lows for offense at Nebraska that I can remember.
Late 2000s, we had some pretty bad offenses. I want to say 2009 or 10. Because the defense carried us.
But to not be able to muster
then.
100 yards through the air.
I know.
To not.
They didn't even get over 200 yards rushing
You know
either.
what's crazy is Heinrich Haarberg had the best QBR in the game, and his QBR was a 19.6.
Jesus. Wow.
Yeah, Sullivan rocked a 15.5. It was an awesome game. Awesome game.
The quarterback position was a big struggle.
I mean, these two. I mean, at least Sullivan hit for 50%. He was 12 for 23.
Yeah.
For 176. He just didn't get a touchdown, and he had 1 pick. Haarberg had a touchdown, which is what bumped that QBR just a smidge. But he had 2 picks. His average was 5 yards a throw only because he got that 44-yarder out to Malachi, which, honest to God, that was more lucky than it was right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's one thing that it bugged me when he said
and
that.
I would say lucky considering what we've seen from him.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
I expected that ball to go out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
Or, in fact, when it was up in the air, it seemed to have caught enough loft. It was up there forever that I thought for sure it was going to get picked. It seemed like it was going to fall short of the end zone and get picked.
There was so much separation. I didn't think it was going to get picked, but it was just kind of maybe by the time Malachi got underneath
He'd be out the back of the end zone.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It was running wild, and I'm frustrated at the fact that it felt like the way that the first half went, it was definitely a time that they could have brought in Sims, and it would have been completely justified.
So, again, I was listening to the Big Red Overreaction show, and Gary and Connor, the two hosts, they were talking about this with Jeff Sims. I think it was a caller that called up, and then they kind of went off from there. Do you think, so Sims has played in 3 games so far this year. The third game was just that one snap at Louisiana Tech, but do you think maybe they might just, well, first of all, I think that they're running with Haarberg until Haarberg can't play, basically, as far as this season.
Till he's beat up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think maybe...
Which, he's resilient. Of all the other things we can say negative about him, that dude took some shots today
Big time.
that would take most quarterbacks out of a game. Actually, his touchdown that he scored, the way that looked on TV anyway, and then he came off and he kept looking at that hand that he wears his scorecard on, or his play chart on, and he kept looking at it and he was kind of shaking it off. I was like, yeah, I'll bet your arm's numb as fuck right now, dude, because he took that helmet square on his forearm.
Do you think they might end up saving Sims for 4 games, giving him the red shirt? He's going to graduate.
Shit.
He's going to graduate in December. He'll be a graduate transfer to where he doesn't have to sit out. He'll be able to do the double transfer because once you're a graduate, it doesn't matter. That whole second transfer stuff.
Do you think they're just doing him a favor and letting him go somewhere else?
And then he'll have 2 years of eligibility for himself still left over. I mean,
that actually makes the most sense of anything that I have thought about.
As soon as I heard it, I was like,
that
yeah.
makes the most sense of anything that I've heard on this, because to me today, watching it and just being so frustrated with, it seemed like carelessness. The first pass was definitely carelessness.
Oh, it was terrible.
Man, go watch some fucking quarterback film. Figure out how to stretch your arm out a little bit. Do something. Like, you're 6'5".
A lot of
you know how many quarterbacks would, you know how much Drew Brees would absolutely just give every other limb to be 6'5", to be able to throw the ball over linemen and not have to be, reaching as high as he possibly can for a release point. His launch point is like at his visor. It's not even above his helmet. Come on, man.
Yeah.
There's a reason you get 3 or 4 balls knocked down a game. I don't know what the actual stat is, but it's at least 3 or 4 a game.
The big thing with that a lot of people kind of are talking about is, do you think the 2024 starting quarterback is on the roster right now?
No.
And I'm not even just talking about, I know you're in love with the Bellevue West quarterback, all that stuff.
No, I'm not in love with him. I'm just saying I don't think the starter's on the roster.
Okay. So that goes to the whole possibility of just saying, unless there's an emergency situation, obviously, if Haarberg unfortunately gets injured, because no matter how we feel about Haarberg as a player, no, we'd never want anybody to get injured. But maybe that is a situation where it's, okay, Sims, feel free. You can play 4 or less games. Red shirt, you have 2 years left. You can transfer and be on about your way. Best of luck to you. That opens up a scholarship position to bring in the 2024 starting quarterback in a transfer portal. I mean, I agree with you. It makes the most sense.
Well, the way that our defense is set up, with the youth that we have on the defensive side of the ball that's already seemingly almost taking over, and if we don't lose Hutmacher to the draft, Hutmacher to the draft, the defense isn't going to look that different next year.
No.
In fact, it'll just look better.
Yeah.
It should come back as an extremely experienced and still youthful group. And so that side of the ball I'm not worried about. And if you look at what we have, just because of the situation with the injuries, the come up of the youth that's already on the offensive side of the ball, he's going to have to look at it as, if we do end up hitting 6 wins, 7 wins, potentially 8 wins in this season,
don't be
I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse. But you wind up doing that in year one.
Yeah.
He almost would have his hand forced unless Danny Kaling does come in and is just an absolute maniac rock star. He's almost going to have his hand forced to go out and find a quarterback that'll come in.
I don't think there's a question no matter what Danny Kaling does. He's going to go find another quarterback.
I think he has to.
There's
he put himself in this situation by being as successful as he's being this first season.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting a year one that he got at Temple or Baylor for the rebuild because he made the comment ahead of the season, this might be a year two. Might be. We've talked a lot about that. And it's shaping up with the way that we've gotten some lucky breaks with other teams having some pretty catastrophic injuries that are seemingly helping us with the rest of our schedule. We talked about it on the second half preview show. There's a very realistic chance that we could be looking at an actual viable shot at getting to Indy for the Big Ten championship.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I've told you before,
yeah.
I'm not going there just yet. Get me to 6 wins, and then we can talk about the Big Ten West title.
Being at 4 already I'm getting goosebumps. It feels really fucking good to be thinking about the schedule that we have left, at least the possibility of a bowl.
Mm-hmm. Hell, honestly, I don't care about the 6 wins right now. I want to get that 3rd win in a row for the first time.
Oh, fuck yes. For the first time since when?
2016.
Oh, my God.
Actually.
That sounds like 4 years ago right now, but that's fucking 7 years ago.
So while we were watching the press conference, I actually looked it up, and then I typed it into my phone to see how many days it's been since we won that. When we started 7-0 in 2016. So since we beat Purdue to go 7-0, and I'm saying this as of today, this is Saturday night, it's 11:56 p.m., it's been 2,550 days.
Oh, my God. That's gross.
Yeah, it was... let me click on it.
That's gross.
I'm sorry, 2,555 days.
Ugh. That's gross.
Since we won at least 3 games in a row. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how many years we had in a row where we didn't win at least 3 in a row.
It's a long time. A long time.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, you probably had a stretch of at least 30 or 40 years.
You're talking
there.
Early 60s, late 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking rough.
Yeah.
That's fucking rough, man. We've been a tortured fan base for a long time.
Well, we've also been a privileged fan base for a long time.
We have.
Which
is also why we have so many prissy bitches in our fan base.
Yes.
Not you guys. We love you all. I promise. We're not talking about you.
No.
Ever not talking about you.
Well, if you think we're talking about you, then we are.
Yeah, there's always one asshole in every group. If you don't know who the asshole is,
it's you.
Oh, shit.
So enough about the negative.
I was literally going to say the exact same thing because
God.
I actually wrote down positives because I want to note these things. I already mentioned I have to give accolades out to the offensive line. I'm dead serious. I watch, you know me, when I watch a game, my focus is in the trench. Like I'm
the same way.
If there's not explosive play happening, my field of vision is very small.
Although I will tell you this, so I was at the game with my kids, and I was not watching the line because this is like one of the first games in a long time that I actually walked into the stadium relatively sober.
That's why we're shooting this on Saturday.
Otherwise, I'd be asleep right now. But I wanted to watch the wide receivers because we've talked about it many times about do these guys get open and all this other stuff. So I'll watch the game again tomorrow to really get my own gauge on, because again, I'm typically just watching the lines guy as well, but that's why I'm just going to take your word for it right now as far as how well the offensive line played.
They looked a lot better. There was not, like, the majority of most games that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years at least, it's just like floodgates are open constantly. Quarterback never has any time. It didn't feel like that today. It never felt like there were times, don't get me wrong, but it didn't feel like this constant, like, oh, Haarberg's always on the move. Like his mistakes today didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get back into that yet.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit later because I had another couple points I wanted to make on him. But
Okay.
as far as positive points, 0 sacks allowed.
Yep.
I don't remember the last time we didn't give up a sack in a game. I'm sure it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like forever ago. We only had 2 total tackles for loss given up.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other side of the coin where we had, I think, 13 total tackles for loss, 8 sacks.
Yep.
That's, first of all, we're not to the defense yet, but holy shit.
That's where I was going to go with the positives.
Well, I wanted to get the weird positives out of the way.
Got you.
Because there were positives on the offensive side. Like I said, the offense, I thought the offensive line played well. I'm going to shout out Bryce Benhart because I feel like I owe that to you because you are by far and away our best offensive lineman so far this year.
Yes.
And I have hammered the shit out of you for the last 2 seasons prior to this. I owe you accolades. I feel like I'm definitely giving you props. But Corcoran actually played better today. I thought he looked more motivated. I thought he looked like he was coming off the ball a little bit better than he had been. He looked good today.
Like I said, I was really focused on the wide receivers, so I can't. I'll take your word for it.
Another major positive that I had written down here is just Emmett Johnson in general.
Yep.
That dude looks like a real back. He actually looks like we just watched the end of the Miami game where A.J. Allen for the second week in a row sealed the game off, sealed the win for him.
Yeah.
I'd love to have him still here, but Emmett Johnson actually looks a lot like A.J. Allen. He's a little smaller.
Oh, yeah.
But the way that he runs in complement to Anthony Grant is super similar to that.
You know, you made the comment about how people have been talking about Emmett Johnson where, he's too small to run between tackles and all this other stuff. A lot of people talked about it as soon as Ramir Johnson went down, and they're like, okay, Emmett Johnson's got to step in. And I said, and many other people have been saying, that Emmett Johnson is a lot like a Ramir Johnson.
Yeah.
Body size, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, all those things. When Ramir Johnson was starting to get his chance a couple of years ago, everybody was saying, oh, he's too small. You can't run between, and he was running between tackles hard.
Yeah.
Like, he was
those
hard
runner.
runner. And so it's like, I understand the mentality of a smaller running back, and you automatically say you can't run between the tackles, but that's not always the case.
No. Well, you've seen that proven in the NFL 1,000 different ways. You look at he's not necessarily undersized from a bulk standpoint, but Rex Burkhead was not a big guy.
No.
Amir Abdullah was never a big guy. Abdullah lived off the edge a lot more than a lot of guys, but in the NFL, he's had to become an inside runner to stay on a roster, basically.
Yep.
But Emmett Johnson also then in the press conference, the kid, we've talked about it so many times, everybody that they fall in love with sounds just like them.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And Emmett Johnson, I'm not talking about like, oh, he doesn't have a certain way of talking. I'm saying they say the same things.
Yep.
They say the same things, they preach the same thing, and Emmett Johnson sounded exactly like that up at the podium tonight.
And that was the first time I'd ever heard him talk. So
Yeah. Turn down the brightness on your TV if you're going to watch because that motherfucker has neon teeth. His teeth are the brightest white teeth I've ever seen on a human being. I don't know if there was some weird camera setting going on. It made the white end behind him look gray. I don't even know how the fuck he did it, but holy shit. So
maybe he brushed his teeth
Emmett
right before
Johnson,
he came out there.
I don't know. You need an NIL deal with whatever fucking dentist you're seeing. Hopefully that's on the works for you, man.
That little sparkle on toothpaste commercials, that's just natural for him.
He smiles and it goes ding. That's what the fuck happens. But along with him, I'm throwing just the youth on our offense in there because of all the turnovers and of all the slippery hand bullshit that went on in this game, none of it was youth. It was all vets. It was Billy Kemp. It was a lot of Haarberg, and I'm calling him a vet because he's been around forever. This is third or fourth year, right?
Third year.
Third year. He's not a rookie anymore.
No.
He's not a freshman. He should.
I understand that he's quote unquote, I guess, if you want to say,
noob.
inexperienced, but he's not a young player. He's been around.
And we talked about that on the preview show that, somebody mentioned that under Frost, he was kind of just a figurehead on the roster. he was a Kearney kid to say that we take local guys.
Absolutely.
He wasn't even getting into the quarterback room for important meetings and stuff like that. So we knocked the kid. A lot of people have torched me personally about beating him up on Haarberg. He does good things. I don't think he's a quarterback. I don't think he should be leading our team, but I'm not trying to beat him up personally. He's obviously a good guy.
People can come at me. I'm good. Let's go.
But then my last thing that I had listed was the defense.
Yeah, my God. Did you see who was tied for first in tackles for the game?
Matt's not here, but your mama yelling.
Your mom's a yelling.
Oh yeah,
hell yeah! He had 7 tackles,
dude. 7 tackles, 3 solos, a sack, 2 tackle for loss. He and the future is fucking bright for this defense with him and Lenhardt and some of the other guys. Oh my God, between those 2 dudes and how much havoc they were causing, and Lenhardt. The thing that impresses me the most about Lenhardt, I think, is his natural ability to flex straight to the. It's more about when a back is getting out of the backfield, which looks like they're going to slip contain on whatever's back there, whether it's the quarterback or a back. It's like magnets that pull him. He'll move sideways to a guy and make those stops, or at least grab him long enough to get a half tackle and get somebody else there. It's amazing to watch him play. Him and Imam and Yellen is, I guess, I think you're, how the fuck are you supposed to say it?
Uman Mielen.
Yeah. Those 2 dudes played amazing. Isaac Gifford again. He's actually the star on defense that I was going to throw out there if Hutmacher wasn't the guy.
I was going to say, and I told you when we were watching the end of I think it was at the end of the Miami game, I was like, because a lot of people say Hutmacher. I was like, his name's Hutmacher. I'm calling him Troublemaker because he is trouble for any offense that
with
he plays
capital
against.
T.
My goodness, he is just it. But real quickly, back to your mom's yelling. It was really funny sitting in the stadium with my girls and then my youngest son Dale, and Dale was sitting next to me. And every time they said Uman Mielen, I would look at Dale, and I've told you before, Dale doesn't listen to this. He could give 2 shits about sports. I even told him, I said, you were brought up on the show one time about, watching it. And I literally
it was his fantasy football team.
And I go, yeah, he doesn't watch this. And he just laughed. He goes, sorry. I go, I don't care. But anyway, I kept looking. Every time they brought up Uman Mielen, I looked at my son and I go, your mom's yelling? And he just looked at me like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Dad's losing it. Dad's losing it. He done lost it. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
Do I need to call Mom? Something wrong?
Yeah.
That's fucking funny. I feel like we should have Dale on as a special guest sometime. Like when he's just a little bit older, old enough to have a couple drinks with us.
Yeah.
It'd be a good chat.
The defense as a whole, man, it's like
they did not hold the rush as well today as I expected them to. We talked about it a lot.
I understand what
really
expectations are.
No, yeah.
But when you hold a team to 2.1 yards per carry,
you're still doing amazing.
I mean,
we've gotten a little greedy.
That's what I'm saying. Greedy. Like, I get it. What the standard that we've set for this season so far, but like towards the beginning or within a couple of minutes, I don't really remember the time on the clock. I remember looking at the big screen and I was looking at the stat line, and Northwestern had 101 yards rushing at one point. And I was like, damn, that's the second time this season. I was hoping that we'd only allow Michigan to be the only team to get over 100 yards so far this season.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, 101, yeah, whatever. They ended with like 83.
81.
Yeah.
81's what they ended with. The last play of the game, or the last play that Northwestern had, they went for, I think, a negative 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
Sack. That was something. But yeah, man, this was the second most sacks in a game. Colorado was the second
minus
most.
16 yards, by the way.
Minus 16, sorry.
But yeah.
This was the second most sacks in a game.
Yep.
That took the place of the Colorado game.
Tied Colorado, because we had 8 in
I
Colorado.
thought we had 7 in
No,
Colorado.
we had 8.
Oh, okay. Tied Colorado
Yep.
since 2009 when Sue was back there.
Yep.
And I've got to say this right now. He doesn't have the stats to back it up. I think Hutmacher in this defense is as disruptive as Sue was.
No.
Not from a sacks perspective.
No.
No?
Just no.
No? Okay. Fair enough.
Sue is quite possibly the most dominant defensive player in the history of college football. Maybe not number one. That might be a
On the
little
line, yes.
Yeah, but he's like, if you were to say who's on the Mount Rushmore, Sue's probably one
he's
of
on
the
there.
4 people.
Yeah. Him, Woodson.
So I mean, like, Hutmacher's not there yet. Like,
I'm not anointing him a Mount Rushmore guy. I'm saying his effect on the game, especially against these weaker offensive lines, because that is what this is. This is a weak offensive line that he got to take advantage of. But they were double and triple teaming him pretty much from the 3rd possession on.
I think I understand what you're getting at.
I'm more talking about the effect that he's pulling from the.
The problem is,
offense.
as soon as you say any comparison to Sue,
I'll get torched.
No, it's not even. But it's just like Sue just has this aura. Like you just justifiably so. This isn't like
you put the right backlighting behind Hutmacher, and he doesn't have a shirt on. The hair on his arms
it just glistens.
It just glows. He has an aura too, man. By the way, I know that we have his mom following our Twitter account. If she happens to catch this episode, I'm sure you guys don't watch us, but
this
if
is
you do,
all love and respect.
This is all love and respect because I have mad love for a big blonde dude who's playing on the line. I feel it. I feel it. He's also fucking crushing it, and he's my favorite player on defense this year. Even though we talk about your mama yelling and Lenhardt all the time.
Yep.
He's absolutely crushing. I don't really know what else to talk about on the defense. The only thing negative that I can really say about that is they were a little bit leaky, just at certain times. It seemed weird. It feels like the linebackers are still trying to figure out how to get Reimer worked back in, which
I mean,
I don't know if that's really. I don't know if it's a him thing or if it's just they got a little used to it for him being gone for two weeks. But Hartzog didn't play very well for the first 3 quarters. He stepped it up in the 4th.
Rule brought up the with Tommy Hill getting injured and not playing in the second half.
A tweaked ankle, it sounds like.
And that they had to move Hartzog from safety to corner, and they don't like moving him in the middle of a game. And, maybe kind of like a Billy Kemp situation that we talked about, how not having Billy Kemp out there just completely changed everything that they wanted to do, and they were kind of scrambling. Maybe that was kind of a situation where not even just the defense was scrambling, but maybe Hartzog was like, oh shit, I've been told that I'm doing this all week at this position. Now I have to move over here, and I got to just recalibrate. This is nowhere close to the same scenario, but I'm just talking about when you have a mental situation. If I'm at work and one of my jobs is I have 5 routes that I do at the post office, there are times where I'll set up one route and then I'll go set up the other route. And I have to take a couple of seconds, okay, turn my brain off of this route and then turn my brain on for this other route, because there are times where I just get jumbled. That could be happening. That could have happened with Hartzog as far as switching positions in the middle of the game.
It certainly could have. And I'm not torturing him by any
No,
means,
absolutely
because he
not.
also made some critical plays in the 4th quarter.
He also during the game, and I think he would say it. He'd be the first one to say it. He made some critical errors too, which gave them a lot of yards.
3 or 4 catches that, should have been easy pass breakups because the balls weren't well thrown.
No.
But the guy was standing there wide fucking open. And he fell down on one coming across the middle.
Consistently throughout the season, he's one of our best secondary guys, so I'm not going to crush him.
And he's only a sophomore
we can
right?
all have a bad game. Yeah.
God, that as well as the defense is playing, it's terrifying. It's not terrifying. It's in a really good way. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
How young they all are.
Yeah.
Like, who are we losing this year?
Well, maybe
Robinson,
maybe Hutmacher, sorry.
God, I hope he sticks around for one more.
Henrich and Reimer.
Henrich has got another year.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay. Then Reimer's gone.
Reimer is a senior for sure.
I believe so.
This is his 5th
I guess
year?
I haven't really looked, so
We'd have to check.
Yeah.
I know. I'm pretty positive Henrich still has another year left
Okay.
because he had that medical red shirt
Okay. Yeah.
and COVID.
I usually don't
He
start.
could probably play till he's 37.
I usually don't start looking at that sort of stuff until towards the end of the year to see who's staying and who's going, or who has a chance to stay and who goes. So I don't really know. I guess I probably shouldn't talk unless I start to look at that stuff. But
On the Northwestern side of things, I thought their quarterback actually played, like, for as much as he was getting just absolutely shook out of the pocket. I thought he actually played pretty well.
he wasn't terrible.
I wanted to give Northwestern just overall general props. I thought it was cool that Rule stood up and said, Fitz is one of my friends and a mentor in this game, and I would love for my kid to play for him. I thought that was a pretty strong endorsement. I hope Pat Fitzgerald, whatever happens with him and the university lawsuit and all that stuff, I hope he finds a way back to football at some point, because he's always been one of my favorite coaches to watch. But
bare minimum, he'd be at like an analyst type thing.
This head coach, or the guy that's their head coach right now, I don't remember what his name is.
David Braun.
Yeah, he deserves this job.
I agree. They're playing hard.
They're playing hard, and this is the same roster that everybody beat up and shit on all year last year, playing for Pat Fitzgerald. Yep. And maybe there was some drama going on that was causing some of that. I don't know, but he's got these guys playing lights out. The way that they were hitting, like I said, playing with house money, it reminded me, I've referenced it, but I have not watched a team just throw their bodies at people the way that Colorado State did in that Colorado game until today.
Yep.
Because they did that, especially at Haarberg. It was like, we're going to fuck this guy up. It looked like that looked like the plan from the beginning.
Yeah, they're not a team that has quit on the season and their situation where they easily could have.
No.
Going into the season with
Pack it in.
Absolutely.
Pack it in, absolutely. You could have seen a lot of their guys that would have a chance to transfer somewhere else and play. They could have redshirted, done exactly what you talked about with Sims.
And I'm not saying that they're a good team, because they're not.
No.
They're
They did
just
beat Minnesota.
They're just playing hard. That's really all you can ask of a team, that they're playing hard.
It's something we haven't seen in a little bit.
No, yeah.
We're seeing it now, but we hadn't seen it.
But we also don't see it consistently. We haven't seen it consistently yet.
I agree.
So
I felt like we were a little bit flat in the first quarter.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. The tunnel walk and the way it's all completely televised now. I don't know if it was this way before. It never seemed like it was this way before. It was also a lot darker and you couldn't see as much. I think the tunnel walk is too long, and they're almost like, okay, shit, why are we walking a half a mile to get into the fucking stadium right now?
Well, there's nothing you can do about it. So, I mean,
shit's built.
Yeah. It's
Put in a teleporter, I guess.
tough shit. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
The only other thing I'm going to mention before I ask you to jump into the questions.
Yep.
I think the Big Ten refs are the worst refs in college football so far this year.
Yeah,
and I'm calling that out on a play that they let us get away with.
Which one?
There were so many holding and false start calls that should have been called in this game that they just let go. But I sent you the little clip that I literally, I'll go make a better recording and I'll put it out on our Twitter. But I just did a quick video grab of my TV, backed it up and recorded it. Haarberg was easily a yard past the fucking line of scrimmage and threw that ball.
Yeah, I did.
And they just got up on the line like, oh, the team is rushing to on an easy completion in a down. The team is rushing to go hike the ball. Why do you think that is?
And the announcer said nothing about it. Before I came over here, I was watching a little bit of the first half. I was just trying to watch offensive plays. So I'll watch it again later. But I saw that play. And I was
tried to step back, but you can't go over and then come back. That's not the way the rule works.
That was bad.
It was horrible.
Okay.
Even when he let go of his release point was a whole yard past the line of scrimmage. And a ref is standing like 4 yards.
Well, it doesn't matter where you're, as long, even if you have your toe back at the line of scrimmage, it doesn't matter where your release point is.
But his whole body had moved
I agree with you, but
back.
the release point is irrelevant. But yes,
you can't come back.
No,
you throw it?
You cannot. Yes.
I was
No,
like,
I know.
now I'm questioning myself.
No.
Am I saying this wrong?
No. He was definitely past the line of
It was
scrimmage.
bad.
That was really bad.
And there was a ref staring right at him.
Yeah,
I'm like,
when
they just let so much stuff go, though. It happened in the Penn State Ohio State game today, too.
The announcers didn't even are we sure that he was they were just went on to the next play.
Big Ten announcers.
It's like, okay.
Big Ten announcers. It happened in the Ohio State game with Fox calling. Joe Klatt was doing that game. So something I noticed in that game that you don't get watching any of the ESPN games or anything else. Those dudes, when Joe Klatt, I can never remember his name. Gus Johnson. Don't like Gus Johnson that much. I do really
Annoying.
I do really like
bad.
Joe Klatt.
Yeah, I do too.
I like his stuff. I like his podcast too. I don't know if you checked that out. But
I don't, but
he does.
I like Joel Klatt. I got no problem with him.
He basically is doing what Colin Cowherd used to do when he was still a normal sports guy.
So Joel Klatt does good radio, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not on the radio. He's just doing
whatever,
podcasts.
because Colin
Just
Cowherd
by himself,
does not.
Though. Yeah.
But
anyway, they watch the Fox Big Noon kickoff coverage, and he references, Urban Meyer said this before this game today, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And Urban Meyer at halftime referenced something that Joel Klatt said. I'm like, so they're actually actively watching the game and they're paying attention to what their colleagues are saying. So then there's some correlation between what's happening here. You watch College Game Day, it's a circus as it fucking is. And then you go watch the games that will precede it or the game that it's supposed to be focused on. And it's like there's the total disconnect. Doesn't matter. It's two separate things.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know why I brought that up, but
I really don't either. So
I know that I thought that I was going to have an awesome week this week. You've already given me shit about it.
Yeah, you did not. I was telling you. I didn't tell you your results. I still haven't at this very moment.
Was I the worst?
Halfway through going through the questions on the preview show, you're like, because you and Matt, Matt always wants to pick different than you, and then he kept picking different you, and you're like, well, at least I know I'm going to have a good week this week. Yeah, about that.
So Matt hit on this ridiculous shit that he just went against me to go against me.
No, actually, you guys had the same record, but you only had 2 wins each.
Oh my god! How the fuck is that even possible when we had 7 questions?
I don't know. I had 4 wins. The fans had 2 wins, so I had a pretty good week compared to everybody else.
Would you agree that this game wasn't as dominant as expected?
No, actually, I said that I think it's going to be right at about the point spread. Granted, it hit the under, the Northwestern covered.
Yeah, Northwestern covered big,
yeah,
actually.
But, I mean, it was 10, 11, 12 points, depending on the day.
Yeah.
But I thought it was going to be somewhere right around there, and the fact that it was 8 isn't really that much of a shocker for me. And Matt and I were going back and forth saying, because you kept saying 27 points and this, how do we think we're going to score 20? I kept saying 21. I don't feel comfortable expecting this team to even score 21 points.
Honestly, we talked about, do we trust Satterfield to hone in on a game plan that works for this offense over a 2 weeks off?
And
the funny thing is, I said I didn't, and then I still picked him to score 27 points. So I don't know what the fuck I was doing. But he didn't. He didn't. Yeah. Plain and simple. We said we were going to reserve judgment on Satterfield until next season.
I am
personally upset with the play calling that's happening in situations where there's all kinds of memes that were already out about first down against, or it said first down against the worst rush defense in the Big Ten, pass. Second down against the worst rush defense in the Big Ten, pass.
Yeah.
Third down. What the fuck are we doing? We did it two possessions in the second half. 3 straight passes, 3 and out. Why? What are you trying to prove? Are you trying to force Haarberg to be a passer?
I don't know what to tell you.
and that brings me to the only other point that I'm going to say about the Haarberg thing.
I mean, we did only throw the ball 17 times.
Today,
so it's kind of
like Adrian Martinez.
What do you mean?
He looked scared to make a mistake. From the very beginning, his draws, Every time there was a draw play called for him prior to this game, he knew that it was ready to go. He'd make his little fake, and he'd instantly take off. He'd be decisive. He'd make a move. He'd go. He'd hit a hole. Today, we watched him. I don't know how many 3rd and 3, 5, 7 draws that he got put into.
Yeah.
But every single time, it was like he got the ball and then looked up and was like, I don't know where to go. It reminded me of Adrian Martinez instantly. That's what Adrian Martinez was after his freshman year. And it looked like the moment was too big for him at that time.
Yeah, he looked skittish. I will, maybe could that some, and this is just me asking questions. This is not my opinion.
Starting the game with that many turnovers.
Not just
Make
that,
anybody
but also
skittish.
with how hard he was getting hit. We talked about how that
You're not
defense,
wrong about that.
I don't know. Again, I'm just asking questions. This is not my opinion. I'm asking questions. Whether it's the turnovers and or how hard he was getting hit, I'd be a little skittish too. But I'm also not a Division I athlete, so I never would be misconstrued as one. So not one single person would look at me and go, that used to be a Division I athlete. No.
This guy fucks.
So yeah, I with the quote unquote good week that I had, I jumped into a tie for the lead with Matt at 22 wins on the season.
What do I have? Like 18?
You have 20, so you're 2 behind.
Oh,
us, so
I'm
it's
not that.
bad.
I'm not that.
No.
We're not that far off. Here.
No.
I did have a really good week last week.
2
Or
weeks,
Illinois,
2 weeks ago,
yeah,
Michigan.
Illinois.
No, the Michigan game. You had a great week. You had,
Right.
You had 6 wins.
I just went all out negative that week. I remember.
Yeah. Understandably so, but yeah. The first question we had was receptions by the 3 freshman wide receivers, Doss, Lloyd, and Coleman. I had it at 5.5.
Close.
They had only had 3 targets to Lloyd and to Coleman, or no, Dawson to Coleman, not to Lloyd, none to Lloyd. Only 2 catches. Granted, one of them was one of the big catches, a very important
The
catch.
big catch,
Yes.
in my opinion.
But still, only 3 targets. I know that the question was catches, but I wanted to see it at the bare minimum. The target number go over the catches that I had, to then maybe see how many catches they'd end up. But they didn't even come close on targets.
So I want to ask you a question. Thomas Fedoni
Mm-hmm.
was a 5-star, super highly recruited tight end. He came in, he had 2 bad injuries. I was on our Big Red Junkies account after the Illinois game when Connor McFadden, that does the Corn Craze podcast, was doing his live reaction, whatever. You can go on and comment and does whatever. And I commented on there, and he engaged with it. And I said, I feel like Thomas Fedoni is underperforming. For everything that we heard in the offseason, all the hype and the hoopla, and we talked about it a little bit in some of our preseason games or preseason shows that that seemed to kind of die down as the offseason progressed. But it seemed like he was going to be like really the guy this year.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing that I think he has been the biggest letdown on, he doesn't get a lot of separation. Understandable with the knee injuries he's had. But he has a lot of balls hit him in the hands that he doesn't catch.
He had a couple today.
He has a lot of balls hit him in the hands that should be easy catches to just grab it and go to the ground.
Hmm.
And he's not getting hit. He had one today that it did bounce off the one that got picked. Yep. He was being interfered with. So there should have been a PI called there. By the way, there was no PI calls in this game, I don't believe. And there were a couple that got missed, but Big Ten officiating. But I felt like that was a thing in the Illinois game, and I asked him that. I said, I feel like he's underperforming. And then today backed it up for me. And he talked about it at length in that show. And then he went on with Adam Carricker and did an off-season or an off-week questionnaire with him. And he brought that question to him. He said, I was asked this question about Fedoni. Do you think he's underperforming? And they're giving him this massive pass because of the injuries he's had. Do you give him a massive pass? Do you reset his expectations?
I don't.
That's what I'm asking you your opinion on this.
No, I don't.
Because I feel like he's underperformed massively this year for being fully healthy.
So
You also don't have a quarterback throwing to him. So
That's kind of where I'm going. Like,
but they've been playing ball for 5 or 6 years.
no, I get it. So for me, it is a delicate thing because, I mean, I know that we've talked about this on the show, and I know one of the shows that I participate a lot in and I listen to is Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Josh Peterson gets all kinds of crap because he had been saying towards the beginning part of this season that I don't think that Thomas Fidone is that awesome and, all this stuff. And then everybody's just crushing the shit out of him. All of a sudden, Fidone scores a touchdown in 3 consecutive games. And everybody's like, oh, what do you think now? It's like,
out of like 5 catches, though.
that's what I'm saying. Like, he's got 3 catches.
He's got like 300 yards.
3
on the season,
touchdowns, and he's got like those touchdowns are for like 25 yards total. Like, and I don't know that those aren't the exact numbers, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's not like he's exploding on the defenses like crazy.
No, he's not.
But at the same time, I don't even want to say that I'm giving him a pass because this offense is so bad for various different reasons. So is it entirely his fault that he doesn't have these explosive numbers that we come to expect from a highly touted guy like that? Or is it the offense that is not giving him the opportunities to? I just don't know where that delicate balance is.
Well, I feel like the delicate balance line for me is catch the balls that hit you in the hands.
Again, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Haarberg had an awful day throwing the ball, but he also had 3 or 4 drops in this game that he put the ball where it needed to be, or at least in a catchable radius. We talked a lot about that on the preview show. A catchable radius. You made the comment, when you're as big as Fidone, you've got a large catchable radius. He put one right here that got picked off.
Yeah.
He was, like I said, he was being interfered with. The guy already had his jersey. But you make that catch if you're a big-time tight end.
Yeah.
If you've got aspirations of playing in the league, you make that fucking catch. And it's rules mentioned it. He's not mentioned him by name directly, but I think he is still one of the veteran, softer dudes on the team that is holding us back on some things.
So he's got 27 targets, 15 catches, 175 yards.
How many drops?
I don't know what the number is today, including today.
He had at least 2 today.
I would agree with at least 2. I'm looking at the Pro Football Focus. He's got 2 other drops, so it would be 4 at least, not official as far as what Pro Football Focus has.
Out of the 14 he's missed, 4 of them have been drops.
Correct. At least,
that's
at least
not a terrible,
4.
It's not a terrible amount.
That's not a terrible amount.
It just I don't know. I wanted to ask you the question because I think it's one of those things. It's like, do you give him the pass because of the injuries? Do you give him the pass because he doesn't really have a quarterback throwing to him?
I give him more of a pass about the quarterback and the offense that he's playing in. I don't really give him a pass for the injuries.
Yeah.
I would give him much more of a pass if I'm going to give him a pass. I would give him much more of a pass based on the offense and the quarterback that he has. The thing is, though, at the same time, you could say the quarterback that he currently has right now only wants to throw him the ball.
Yeah, he should be doing better.
He had 7 targets today.
Yeah.
Like, by far and away more than anybody else. The next closest,
and he had 3 catches for 18 yards.
The next closest was Alex Bullock with 3 targets. So, like,
another guy who's hitting hands and dropping the balls.
And again, a lot of people will think that I'm just trying to shill for Jeff Sims, but everybody wanted to crush Jeff Sims, not just for the turnovers, but that he keys in on one wide receiver. Haarberg is keying in on one receiver as well. He's not a wide receiver, but he's a tight end. Like, Haarberg just wants to throw Fidone the ball.
Well, I
don't know what to say.
I think the biggest difference between what we saw in the game and a half with Sims and the time that we've had with Haarberg is Haarberg is out there and he's been given 1, 2, or 3 options on every single play.
Haarberg also has less weapons than Sims had to start the season, so I will give anybody that's going to say that.
I agree with that.
I know that that's what some people would say, is that people were healthy when Sims... I get it, but come on, let's be real here.
It's fair to say, but at the same time, when you look at the weapons that he's had, like I said, the veterans are the ones making the mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
The drops we've seen are from, Alex Bullock. He's a junior, right?
Sorry, I had to Had to swallow that drink. It took me a little longer. No, he's a redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman. Okay,
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I thought he was a junior. But Fedoni, both of those guys, those are by far, after Kemp went down, those are our two most experienced pass catchers on the team today, and both of those guys had drops today.
Yep.
He didn't throw that many good balls. About half the ones that he threw got dropped, and it's unfortunate. It's where we are. It's probably a product of complete inconsistency when it comes to practice, because you got to get used to the way a guy throws a ball, and he slings a ball like he throws a ball hard. It's kind of like catching an Aaron Rodgers ball. If it hits you the right way, and you're not used to it, it's going to bounce off.
Yeah,
that's what we're seeing.
As far as talking about Fedoni's drops today, so like I said, he had 7 targets, 3 catches. So we have at least 2 drops of the 4 that were incomplete. One was well behind him. That was the very first pass of the game, the interception.
Yeah. That was so bad.
I can't think of what the 4th one is, so I don't know if that 4th one that was incomplete to him would have been a drop or not. We'd have to go back and find that out.
We had one that didn't even get to him.
At least 2 of those 4 were drops.
Yeah.
They went right through his hands, and then it's just the way it goes. But so, like I said, I struggle with where I give him the pass, but I do not give him the pass for the injuries. No.
Well, there's like that.
Because he's healthy enough to play, so I'm not going to give him a pass on the injuries.
Yeah. Well, you were healthy enough to practice all offseason, too. There should be no injury concerns this year. Granted, people don't come back from injury the same way. I get that, but yeah, I'm with you on all that stuff.
Yep.
I just wanted to know your opinion on it because they kind of talked about it from a standpoint of they do give him a pass. They lowered their bar, their expectations. He's not a 5-star guy anymore because
who's they, by the way? I
was talking about Connor McFadden, the corn crazed guy.
Sorry, I just wanted
corn crazed guy that lives out in California.
Nope, I know who you're talking about.
I like his show. I know you don't follow his stuff, but I like his show.
Yeah, I honestly just have never seen it, so I don't know.
Gotcha. And then Carricker.
Yeah.
Hey man, he gets the people. He gets people going.
That's cool. Small doses. So anyway, back to the first question: 5.5 catches for the freshman. Clearly, the under. Matt and I were the only ones that took the under. The fans took the over as well.
I really talked myself into that one too.
Well, like I said during the preview show, any question with Malachi Coleman, you're going to say over.
He's just such a freak athlete.
I get it.
And he showed it today. I love that he caught that ball.
Yeah.
I love that the ball actually made it to where it needed to go in order for him to catch that ball because he did exactly what he was supposed to do, which was blow the doors off the fucking defense.
It was also funny when we were having this conversation, you made the comment of those 3 wide receivers. You go, well, all 3 of them are deep threat guys. And I said, do we know that for sure? Because we haven't seen it. And then we get Malachi Coleman blowing the top off the defense. Deep threat.
He didn't just blow the top off, dude. He was 10 yards behind that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that guy got tripped up because the camera wasn't panned back there, so you couldn't really see what was going on.
No, he was trailing.
That bad?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
No, he did not get tripped up. He was just trailing.
You've heard Haarberg mention it. You've heard a couple people mention that Malachi in practice, like, he's fast as fuck. Mm-hmm. And I'm just excited to see him grow, man. I'm excited to see his experience kind of take hold and the game to slow down, as they say, and for that to start happening.
I thought it was funny that in the post-game press conference, Rule talked about that play, and he said that Garrett McGuire told Rule on the headset, he's going to be open. And Rule was like, you're full of shit, fuck off. Now, granted, what's Garrett McGuire going to say? He's not going to be open. Like, Garrett McGuire's going to be like, I don't know about this. Just do it. Let's go. And Rule's like, I had to apologize to him on the headset. Like, Garrett, you were right.
Well, that is one design that I will give them 100%, which he gave credit to Tom Osborne. Yeah. He came out and said that. I think it's cool how much he clearly respects Osborne and he tries to use that stuff as much as possible, which, hey, we can have our opinions about Tom Osborne, the after coaching life guy.
Yep.
But he's still one of the greatest of all time to do it. And if you're going to be able to use and implement something that he's teaching you and offering to give you, fucking A, right, let's go.
There was I referenced the Big Red Overreaction show, and there was this drunken dumb fuck that called, and He was.
It's about every other caller they have.
Yeah, oh, they had one guy that every other sentence he said, he goes, "Yeah, I'm pretty drunk right now." It was really that's not this guy, but another guy. He goes, he was cracking on Satterfield, semi-understandably, and he goes, Rule always gives Osborne all this credit. Maybe we can get rid of Satterfield and then possibly just bring in Tom Osborne as our offensive coordinator. It's like, Jesus Christ, guys.
He said that seriously?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring in the 80-year-old. Let's go.
Whatever. Second question was Nebraska rushing yards, 199.5. They hit the under. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get rolling, really. 163 yards. Everybody took the over. All 4 people took the over, the fans included.
I'm dead serious with you. Haarberg ran the ball 16 times for 72 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if he was playing like every other game we've seen him play prior to this, he had 120, 130 easy.
Yep.
He just looked indecisive.
Yeah.
It reminded me instantly of Adrian Martinez.
I get it. I even said at the time that I asked the question, and you and Matt specifically were like, "Oh, this is." I did take the over, but I wasn't like super confident about it. I'm like, they didn't hit the over against a shitty Illinois defense.
Yeah, but I'm blaming it on play calling.
I agree.
And
I'm just
Illinois'
saying, like,
Illinois' front defensive line was better than Northwestern's.
They were, but they also have been playing like shit all
passing the
year.
ball. We kept running the ball out.
Yep.
It just didn't make sense.
Question number 3 was, who will have more tackles, Bryce Gallagher for Northwestern or Isaac Gifford? I kept calling him Luke Gifford on the show, but Isaac Gifford. And the announcer at one point called him, what did he call him? Isaiah Gifford.
Those announcers, they also, on a special teams, on a punt coverage, there's a 15 on punt coverage.
Yeah.
He's got long hair. I don't know who it is.
It's Lyman.
But he called him Malachi Coleman.
Yeah.
I'm like, does that look like Coleman on the back of the jersey that you're clearly looking at?
Also,
like,
much smaller.
Yeah. Way different looking dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
Gallagher had 9 tackles, which is what he averages on the season. Gifford had 7 tackles, which is what he averages on the season. So
who played the better game?
Honestly, they both had a great game.
They did.
They both had a sack. They both had a bunch of tackles. Gallagher had a forced fumble. I mean, I can't really say which one had a better game. They both played great.
Yeah.
Gallagher tied for his team for the most tackles. Gifford tied.
Xander.
Yep. With your son.
No, not my son. He's not my son.
Question number 4 was Nebraska, or I'm sorry.
I'm hoping Xander winds up a tight end. That's my hope.
Okay. Northwestern passing yards 199.5. They had the under on that one, 176.
And I went over on that.
Everybody except for the fans. The fans took the under on that one.
The fans took the under. Well,
Yes.
hey, you guys are more knowledgeable than us on this. Because let's get this straight. I got made fun of like a motherfucker saying, "Oh, it's the Michael Leach offense. They're going to stand back in the pocket, right? They're going to get
not
sacked
for
a lot."
Northwestern.
No, I know, but you guys poked fun in the preview show about all that. And I went right into they're going to dink and dunk just like everybody does because that's a good game plan against our passing defense. They didn't do that.
Nope.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was actually very weird. They that Tyus, the third, he ran the ball effectively a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, they didn't have anything explosive.
No.
And so, yeah, I felt bad for their quarterback, man. He was getting just ragdoll.
I think the number is they had like 3 plays of 20 yards or more. So it's not like they were, and I think we only had like 3 plays of 20 yards or more. So it's not like any of us, either offense was
They had that one huge pass play down the left side.
Yeah.
For 66 yards, and then they had that was a Malcolm Hartzog fall down.
Yeah.
Across the middle over to the left for 32. And then that Anthony Tyus, he got 39 yards on that one right up the gut. And he was like the slowest running back bursting through the line that I've ever seen. And I don't know who tracked him down on that tackle, but that was like it looked like he was running in slow motion, and it was like a glitch in the Matrix. He's running, and his legs are so long. He's taking it was like Derrick Henry running in slow motion, and the linebacker just ran out there and grabbed him. I don't know what the fuck happened, but it was weird to watch on TV.
Question number 5 was Billy Kemp touches. This one kind of got skewed because of the injury, but at the same time, even before the injury happened, he only had 1 target, so he only had 1 touch.
And it was on a jet sweep.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of like I want to take Matt Rule's word for him saying that there was a big game plan for Billy Kemp, but we weren't able to find it. BJU and I took the under, so we won that one. Turnover margin for Nebraska was at 0.05. That was the under because it was at -1. You were the only one to take the under on this one. And the last one was Northwestern rushing yards per carry at 1.8. It was over at 2.1.
Still a great fucking game.
Absolutely. Me and the fans were the only ones to take the over on that one. Yeah, it's kind of... And again, my initial number on this before I moved it down to 1.8 was 1.99 because I just wanted to do the whole 2 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And I only took the over because it's like, I know what we've been doing, but man, expecting under 2 yards a carry, shit, even expecting under 3 yards a carry is fucking hard.
It's crazy.
So that's why I took the over, just expecting that. And I'm not going to poo-poo at 2.1 yards per carry given up. So, cool.
It was a great defensive game.
Yes.
Our defense is the only reason we won that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think we lose that game by probably 3 or 4 scores if our defense plays like our defense played last year.
I'm going to agree with what Matt Rule said in the post-game press conference that if we play that type of game at the beginning of the year, which, by the way, we did against Minnesota, we lose that game. And we could say the same thing about the Illinois game 2 weeks ago, where we play that exact same type of game. That's the knowledge of how the mentality of this program is changing.
I think we can thank Michigan for a lot of what's going on right now.
I think we can also thank what we did in that Sunday practice after the Michigan game, too.
That's part of what I mean.
Yes, yeah.
Michigan was the catalyst to get us where we are now. I think that, like we talked about, a lot of people are mentioning that Sunday practice as the turning point. I think it was. I think understanding that Michigan beat our dicks in the way that they did, and they are the team that we are modeled after. Like that's essentially the model that we want to get to. You got drubbed by that team. Go fix it. Play better. Now we can go forward.
Just like what I and many people said after the first year of Frost when we went up to Michigan and just got our dicks pounded in. And Frost came out in the post-game press conference and said, this is rock bottom. It will never get worse than this.
He was fucking wrong.
He was. But I'm saying in the moment, of course, people thought, yep, you're right. You cannot...
At that point, it seemed like it was the worst.
You cannot say what rock bottom is in the moment. That's only what you can say looking back on something. It's the same way as far as a turning point, in the positive sense. Yes, right now, we are 2.5, 3 weeks away from that Sunday practice, the Michigan game, all that stuff. So we can kind of look back, but I still think it's too early to really say that is a linchpin turning point. I'm holding off judgment 100% for another handful of weeks before I be like, that was the turning.
That was truly the turning point.
Because you can't do it in the moment.
No, I get you. I think I'm excited to see what next week's going to bring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Purdue plays as hard as Northwestern did, but I think they're more talented.
We'll find out. I mean, they got... So I messaged a buddy of mine through the radio where he, if people that listen to 1620, Greg in Lincoln, he's a Purdue grad and he lives in Lincoln, so he's a Purdue fan. I met him one time at a Purdue-Nebraska basketball game. And every year that this Purdue-Nebraska game comes up, I always send him a message and just say, hey, can you give me some notes on your team? And he's given me a bunch, so I'll give that on the preview show when we do that. But he really likes Ryan Walters. He thinks that what he's been doing on the recruiting trail
too.
Yeah. I like him as a coach.
He's a good coach.
Yeah. He kind of almost threw Jeff Brom under the bus that he kind of wasn't trying the last year, and now what Ryan Walters has already been doing is light years better than what Jeff Brom has been doing on the recruiting trail. That's what I'm talking about.
That's fine, whatever.
I don't know that.
Maybe Brom knew he was on the way out. Who cares? Why do you do that to another coach? Especially a guy who's had a great first year at Louisville.
I'm just listening to a guy that follows Purdue football more than anybody, that even guys that write for Purdue football, because who the hell follows Purdue football? But no disrespect, Greg. I don't think
Man, I've only
watching,
been to Indiana once. It's weird. It's fucking weird.
I don't know that I'll
have to put this clip up.
I don't know that I've ever been to Indiana.
My daughter Ella, she's my stepdaughter technically.
Yeah.
Her dad is from Indiana, and he is a Purdue Boilermaker. And the other day, she knows she's 3. And the other day he took a video of her. He was
very cute video.
Very cute. He said, "Who's your favorite team?" Is it she calls the Huskers Go Big Red right now. That's what she knows, Mass. or Purdue Boilermakers. What is it?
Boiler up, choo choo.
Boiler up, toot toot,
or whatever. Yeah.
And so he goes, "Is it Go Big Red or Boiler up, toot toot?" And she goes, "Boiler up, toot toot." He goes, "Boiler up, toot toot," or "Go Big Red," and she goes, "Go Big Red."
Well, because I watched the video before we came down to record, and he said, "Who do you like better? Which one's better?" And she looked right at him. Not even at the camera.
Go Big Red.
She looked right at him. Go Big Red.
She knows. She knows the way. It's a good girl. I'll put the video up. It's cute as hell. It's cute as hell. I was proud of it, dude. We're on a winning streak.
3 in a row. Let's do this.
We got it. Done and done.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.